Hello and welcome to Facebook Live here at Musicians Institute Guitar Craft Academy in Nashville. I am Brian Nutter. I'm the lead instructor for the electric guitar department here. I also have my own guitar company, Nutter Guitars. You see some of those around me right now. And this is the first one of these we've done, and we thought this would be just like a really kind of fun thing to do. So, to give you a little bit of background on the MI Guitar Craft Academy, first of all, MI was started in the late 70s as Guitar Institute of Technology, and it was based around building professional guitar players. Since then, they expanded into BIT for bass, PIT for percussion, keyboard, vocal, performance, songwriting, all kinds of recordings of all kinds of facets. Now, it's a fully accredited college. You can earn your bachelor's degree in performance. You can also earn your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, I believe, and maybe even doctorate. Yeah. It's a very, very cool thing. In 1995, in Hollywood, they opened the Guitar Craft Academy. So there, you could learn how to build a solid body electric guitar, and you could also learn how to build an acoustic guitar. A few years ago, we opened the one here in Nashville, and the response has been really, really great. It's been obviously a strange year because, well, if you don't know why, then I'm sorry for the rocking of it. But it's been, we've been shut down for a few months. We just recently opened back up October 5th with our fall quarter. We have more students than we've ever had, and it's a really, really great time. We're doing, in the electric guitar department here, we run on a quarter system, so we start with mostly design and repair. That's what the first quarter is focused on. Taking you through all the steps of the design of an instrument, all of the math and geometry that's involved, teaching you how to use dial calipers and it's just a whole different way of looking at the guitar. Most people just look at it and think, well, it's this thing, and in big factories, they stick big chunks of wood on machines, and 10 minutes later they have a guitar. That's not really how it works. Everything also that we do here is done by hand. So we start everything with rough lumber, and you will craft the body, the neck. You'll actually do two necks. You'll do a practice neck, and you'll do the neck for your final instrument. All of those are built by you. There are no kit parts here. You'll install the truss rods, you'll radius the fretboard, you'll slot the fretboard, get all the frets in there, do all of the finish work yourself, as well as wind your own pickups. So it's pretty extensive. And then in the repair kind of stuff, we discuss basic things like setups, making a nut in a saddle for an acoustic guitar, just making a nut for an electric guitar. We discuss basic and advanced stuff in electronics. want to get with electronics, I'm in. In addition to the electronics, as far as doing repair, we look at refrets. Obviously, you do a lot of refretting here. If you have any time while you're here at the school, you're either doing a setup or a refret. Those are going to be your money makers whenever you first get out. And having that skill is a really, really cool thing. It's the kind of thing that most guitar players are terrified of. Also, in repair, we've just done a few demonstrations on heavy-duty acoustic guitar repair, like pulling the bridge off of an acoustic guitar. We just pulled the neck out of a 1941 Martin Double 15 last night. That was pretty cool, and we had everyone involved. We had day class involved, night class, and the acoustic class involved, because not everybody always gets to see how an acoustic guitar comes apart. And fortunately, no one was hurt. The guitar is fine. It's in pieces, but it's in the kind of pieces we want, not in the kind of pieces we don't. In the second quarter, that's where we will focus primarily on making your guitar. You'll have your project neck going into the second quarter. You've already made that. So the project neck is ready for paint. We'll make the body, pick guards, control cavity plates, and should you use a pick guard. Then we'll also do the pickups. And I really like to spend a lot of time on finishing. So many guys are terrified of the finishing process. And the finishing process isn't hard as long as you're patient and you just have a few basic building blocks to work with. So by the end of the whole thing, you will have made 2 necks, you'll have refretted probably 20 guitars, done countless setups. You will have made at least 1 set of pickups. If you're an overachiever, knock yourself out, come in here and whine as many as you want. And you'll have a fully functioning electric guitar that will be basically your business card whenever you first get out. Now, there's also a third quarter that takes us into the acoustic guitar building. Marty Lamb is our lead instructor for the acoustic class. He's our resident wizard. This guy, Marty was one of the first repair guys hired by George. So Marty knows his stuff like a lot. All of us here pretty much look up to Marty, and you'll spend 3 months building a Dreadnought acoustic based on a pre-war Martin D28. Now, you'll have a few options in and around there, but you have 3 months to complete your very first flat top guitar. And that's hard to do even for the most seasoned veteran group. So it's just about having your head down and getting in there and getting it done. And at the end of that, there you'll have it. You'll have a practice neck, you'll have an electric guitar, and you'll have an acoustic guitar, both of which will be, like I said, your business cards. You'll be able to show those on. The staff here at EMI is truly world class. I'm fortunate enough to be involved with it. I feel like I'm the lowest. That you would never ever imagine. I saw him do he was working on a 52 Les Paul just recently that had at some point in its life had the fretboard replaced, so it had dot inlays, and the 52 Les Paul has trapezoid inlays like a typical Les Paul. So Dave pulled the dots and installed trapezoid inlays in this 52 Les Paul. That's something that, this is a mint 52 Les Paul is anywhere between $25,000 to $30,000. So, going at a guitar with a router to knock in a few pieces of pearl, that's hairy. And Dave's great at it. We also have a brand new instructor, Darren, who works for Gallagher Guitars. He's actually the general manager and head luthier over there. Gallagher acoustic guitars have been around since the 1960s. Probably made most famous by Don Watson. It's a beautiful heirloom acoustic guitar, and Darren, man, he's just knocking it out of the park. He did a demo just recently about top vibration measured by frequency, and it was pretty heady stuff. And he threw up an equation on the dry erase board that sort of spun everyone's head. It was basically Young's equation for elasticity. I'm not going to go into it because I only barely understand it myself, but it was really cool to see. So we're going to try that same principle on a solid body electric guitar so that we can measure the elasticity and figure out the vibrational characteristics of a solid body playing. So this kind of stuff you don't usually get to see whenever you come to guitar making school. And then finally we have Kelly Butler in the electric guitar department. Kelly is a former Gibson custom shop guy, and he also headed up the entire production facility and custom shop for First Act guitars. Kelly is really, really great. Obviously as a guitar maker, but he's a tremendous painter as well. So you learn a lot of finishing techniques from Kelly, and you'll learn the different types of finishes that are applied to a guitar. We'll talk about stuff such as like shellac. We'll discuss what French polishing is, but we won't do any of that. If you come here, I'll tell you why. Good Lord, look at all of this. There are people actually watching. Huh. And here I thought I was just talking to myself. This is usually what I do in my own shop. I just sit and stare at my laptop. I just spew on for hours on end. So, in finishing, we'll talk about shellac, various types of oil finishes. Then we will get into lacquers, nitrocellulose lacquer, and then the synthetic version, acrylic lacquer. Discuss sort of the history and how finishing has evolved through guitar making. And usually its evolution is based around production volume. Initially, guitars were finished in nitrocellulose lacquer because cars were finished in nitrocellulose lacquer. It was readily available and easy to get out, and then that sort of became the thing, and what I call the myth of nitrocellulose lacquer is the greatest stuff you can ever put on your guitar. It's not the greatest stuff. It's good stuff, but there are traditionalists out there that believe what they believe, and believe whatever you believe. If you're on the gear page and you're one of those guys, well, there you go. We'll discuss catalyzed finishes and what like some of the first companies to start using catalyzed finishes. Fender was using a catalyzed sealer called Fuller Plast by the 1960s. Their color coats were usually from PPG, and they were actual car colors, and they were in acrylic lacquer, and then they were top coated in nitrocellulose lacquer. Then fast forward to the 1970s, and as they wanted to ramp up production more, they switched to a polyester finish. Here's where things get sideways with finishing, because polyester finishes get a bad rap because they get put on, they got blown on. Very, very heavy, very thick. And it did dampen the vibration of the guitar. And everybody thought that all polyester finishes or all polyurethane finishes had to be like that. They were like that because they were trying to get guitars out quickly. I didn't do it, I swear. I've been here the whole time. You see me. So, they just didn't want employees to be sanding through the finish and into bare wood. So as time evolved, you start to see not only these catalyzed finishes, but now where you start to see companies use UV cure. So you can shoot a guitar, you can stick it in a thing that looks like a rotisserie sunbed, like a tanning bed, for 90 seconds and pull it out and level sand it and buff it and put it in a box and send it off to whoever it's going to want. So finishing is a very long and in-depth subject, and that's why we like to spend so much time on it in the second quarter. Now, so that's MI and pretty much the very Cliff Notes, my style, abbreviated history of how the whole thing is. As far as myself, I started playing guitar the first time probably when I was about 7, and it hurt, so I stopped. My dad was in a band. He was in a country band. He played pedal steel guitar. So from the time I was born until I was about 12, there was a band that rehearsed in my living room. When I was 3 or 4, they taught me how to turn on the practice PA and sing it with microphones, and the drummer always left sticks for me, so let me bang on stuff. Imagine having a 4-year-old kid pounding away on a set of vintage 1969 mod orange Ludwigs, just bashing the crap out of them. But, those drums weren't that old then, because I'm old now. So, I started trying to play again right about the time that I discovered girls, because I thought girls were really cool, and I figured girls would think guitars were really cool. And that's true, folks. If any dude out there says that he started playing guitar for the love of the guitar, he's lying to himself and he's lying to you. He started it because he wanted to meet chicks. That's how it goes. So I started playing guitar at 12, and by the time I was 17, I was fascinated by the way they were put together, and would scrounge around and find parts from like Stuart McDonald or Mormon or whatever, like a body and a neck, and start trying to put things together. And of course they were awful, but over time you get a little better at it. And I would buy books and read things and ask help from other friends that knew more than I did, because these are long before the days of YouTube, whenever you could just look up or Google anything you wanted to know and have it right at your fingertips. So moving on into the mid-90s, I moved to Los Angeles to do session work, and ended up working both as a recording engineer and as a musician in studios out there doing stuff, audio for animation. I worked a lot, oddly enough, in the rap industry. So moved to Nashville. Well, I had a chance meeting with a couple of guitar makers in Los Angeles at NAMM. I think it was 1996. I met a guy named Don Brosh, and I met Tom Anderson. And those two guys showed me that people make guitars and not factories. Because I remember asking Don, I said, man, I'd love to come by the factory sometime. He was like, factory? We make these things in my mom's garage. That really hit home. So that got me even more interested in making stuff. I'd already been into, putting together parts and doing repair, but man, the fact that I could probably make one for real. So over the next few years, I bought more books and asked more questions and messed up more wood and figured out how to actually make guitars. And so I moved here in the early 2000s into Nashville to make guitars. That was my full-on focus. Got to town and realized that nobody knew who I was and nobody was going to buy guitars from an unknown guy. And I still needed to eat. So I started getting gigs. The first thing I did is I went out for about 6 months with a brand new solo artist named Keith Urban, and I was his guitar tech for about 6 months. And I also worked for Michael Britt from Lone Star. Michael is the first guy that bought Michael Britt, not only guitar player for Lone Star, but now is probably more well known for being the Kemper Profile guy. He's the first guy to ever buy one of my guitars. He still hasn't. And Then after the guitar tech thing, I ended up getting playing gigs, and then the playing career sort of got in the way. I didn't have as much time to build because I was always on the road or doing demo sessions or whatever. So by 2014, 15, I was done touring and decided to reopen the guitar company. And that's whenever these wild-looking things came into being. I wanted to make a guitar that looked like it should have always been there but hadn't. I didn't want to make any kind of copy of something else. I wanted to make something that was distinctly me. And I am a huge fan of old school sci-fi and California hot rod culture and all of that. So that's how you end up with something that looks like if George Jetson had a rock and roll band, this is what he would be like. So this is the Astro Captain. This is the first truly like original design. And it's a bolt-on guitar with 3 humbucker pickups that I make myself. I call them Rocket Boosters. Rocket Booster 5, actually. The 5 refers to the Alamigo 5 magnet that's inside. It has piles of switches on it, and it does a bunch of different noises. If we listen to it, hopefully my amp isn't going to crush everyone. This switch activates the outside 2 pickups. So right now it's in the bridge position. The neck position. So then we can go on to activate the middle pickup wherever this switch is located. So if I turn on the middle pickup, now I've got these 2 pickups on at the same time. We do that very Strat kind of sound. But Strats have single coils. I can pull all any of these 3 knobs. This cuts the bridge pickup, the middle pickup, and the neck pickup. There's an earthquake. These are individual phase switches, so we can end up with some very odd fun kind of sounds. Sounds that you can't make with a traditional guitar. So that was the whole thought behind it. And then finally there's the new Admiral. The Admiral is a set neck guitar, and it's got tons of binding and hand-cut pearl inlay. The body is chambered, so it's very light. And it has my new Rocket Booster Minis, which are a mini humbucker. It's constructed in a much different way than a mini humbucker would be. So it gives a much different kind of sound. Depending upon your pick, you can go from a single coil to a beefier humbucker. And it's a very nifty thing. I'm very proud of this particular guy. So there are piles of comments on here, which is pretty groovy. I've been talking for 25 minutes. Jesus, no wonder my students look glazed over. So I am blind. If I can see any kind of where did you get the inspiration? Yeah, well, it's just that. It's that, like I said, that. And I was a big fan of, or still am, a big fan of the Gibson Explorer, as well as those 2 guitars, like the Flying V. And obviously, I'm a big Fender fan. So if you take say the Jaguar and the Jazzmaster and the Explorer and the Flying V and you throw it into a blender, you kind of come up with this. I think about, when I look at the Explorer and the Flying V, I think about those 2 guitars and how forward they were, because that was the beginning of the space age. And to see a guitar that was shaped that crazy, those two guitars were issued in 1958. So that was very, very forward thinking. If you can find an original Explorer now from 1958, it's worth about $100,000. A lot of them ended up screwed to signs of music stores outside. I mean, that was a pretty common thing to see that. Imagine a 1958 Carina gets an Explorer, just drywall screwed to a wooden sign outside of a music store. Let's see what else we have. Hi, Mom. How does the shape of the neck affect the sound of the guitar? Well, in a solid body electric guitar, neck shape is going to have some bearing, but it's not going to have a huge amount of effect. The neck shape itself is much more about comfort than it is anything. But having wood mass, so if you have a thicker neck, you have something more solid to vibrate. And if it's a thinner neck, then it will in turn feel a little flimsier, and the guitar could end up having a little less, a little less sustain. But primarily in the solid body, your electronics are what are doing the majority of the grunt work. Now that's not to say that different types of woods have different characteristics, because they do. But remember, it's a tree. It's a dead plant. We're not dealing with steel or or plastic or nylon, some sort of man-made material that can be consistent from one end of a 12-foot piece to the other. With a board, just because of the way the thing grew, one end of that 12-foot board is going to be far more dense than the other end. Because think about it, the tree stands vertically. The bottom's going to be considerably more dense. So both sections out of a 12-foot alder board one's going to be a little heavier and one's going to be a little more dense than the other. Sonically, is it going to make that much of a difference? Yeah, you'll be able to hear it. And that's all up to you. That's personal preference, truth be told. It's the kind of thing that what I tell the students all the time is, can you hear it on the radio when the guitar is 6.5 pounds? Does it matter once your drummer starts playing if your guitar is a little bit more dense than the other one? No. Play the guitar. Have fun. That's what it's for. Don't obsess over that kind of stuff. Practice more. Stop being concerned about the weight of your guitar. Let's see. You need a blonde one. I'm sorry you keep losing sound, Donna. That's a drag. Let's see what else we have here. Just bear with me. Wade! Man, it's good to see you, dude. My buddy Wade works for Dingwall Bass Guitars. And there's Chris Fesker from Texas Toast. You will not find a better set of dudes on the planet than Matt and Chris from Texas Toast. They helped me out a lot. I got hurt earlier this year and spent a good amount of time in the hospital and probably came really close to dying a handful of times. And those two guys helped so much. Let's see. Watching from South Carolina. Thank you, man. Now, I actually often get asked about like my first guitar. My first guitar, the first one that was mine, like truly mine. I started playing a bunch of borrowed guitars. The first one was really mine. It was a BC Rich Ray. My dad bought it for me at Jerry's Music in Marietta, Ohio, and by Gorilla GG80 guitar amp. A friend of ours, Dave Davis, gave me a Morley Distortion 1 pedal, and I still have all of that. I'm a hoarder, so yeah, I still have all of it. The first acoustic was a K acoustic. It's a sort of, well, it was like a Gibson Hummingbird copy, and I still have that. The first electric guitar that I really finished, I started a bunch, but the first one that I ever finished, the students asked me the other day, they were like, so do you still have your first electric that you ever made? I was like, well, yeah, it's right over here. I actually keep it in the classroom to show students, to show them, hey, you have to start somewhere because it's awful. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it at all. It's terrible, but it works. It's a fully functioning guitar, and from like 4 feet, it looks awesome. But from like right here, it's pretty brutal. Let's see, man. I think I am out of words. I'm not seeing any more comments. This has been a good time, and we really weren't sure how this was going to go, and I'm tickled to death that you guys were able to make it and be here and be a part of all of this. Let's see if I can do this. I'll show you around the shop before we split. Obviously, there's my guitars. There's a small little CNC machine in the back. 2 drill presses. There's a big time saver. On the other side of that, you can see there's 2 mills, 2 great big band saws. There's the radial arm saw, one of the buffers, the sanding table, the joiner directly behind me, the planer, and another buffer, and then 2 belt sanders and spindle sanders, and then 2 gigantic overarm pin routers. And right here, you see, this is a side bending tool. It's made out of unobtainium. It's called an overholzer. But if you look close, another one right back there. That one's mine, so it's not that unobtainium. So that's the whole shop here at EMI in Nashville. So, thank you guys for being a part of this and for hanging out. And see if I can make the thing actually work.
Thank you.